Hey everyone, welcome back to Judo Highlights. So today I thought I would rate the performance of the Japanese judoka at the World Championships. First, we're starting off with flawless performances, and I'll kind of talk about it in relation to Olympic selection. I get a lot of questions about why certain Japanese athletes are picked over others, and the World Championships has a lot to play with that. So I'll talk about that a little bit in this video too. So Abe Uta, there's no denying that she's the number one for Japan in this weight category. Definitely going to the Paris Olympics. I don't even know who the number 2 is because Abe Uta is just so dominant. Of course, also there's her brother, Abe Hifumi. I think he sealed the deal for Paris. I mean, there's not much chance for Maruyama now. He's just completely dominant over Maruyama and the rest of the competition. And even Keiji Suzuki, the coach of the national team in Japan, he even said it. There's no reason not to pick Abe at this point. Consecutive wins against Maruyama. Never loses on the international scene. So unless he gets injured, I'm pretty sure they're going to go with Abe. Next up, Tsunoda. Just another perfect performance. World champion from last year and world champion again. So those results are hard to deny. She'll definitely be picked for the Paris Olympics. We'll talk about her counterpart, the number 2 for Japan, Koga Wakana, a little bit later in the video. Also, quick shout out to all the new subscribers and also the new members who have joined the channel. Thanks a lot for your support. Just 2 more in this flawless category before we move into murky waters. Becoming world champion this year. Wasn't world champion last year, but she's definitely showing improvements, putting in more wins, and of course beating people that she needs to beat. For example, taking out Gehi, but Pinot, I'm not sure. I think Gehi is the number 1 for France. Let me know in the comments if you're French. Are they going to go with Gehi or Pinot? I'd like to know that. And lastly, Sone Akira. I mean, she's just completely dominant at plus 78. Previous Olympic champion. So they're definitely going to go with her. But from here, things get a little bit interesting. For example, Maruyama, I mean, his performance was pretty perfect up until that match with Abe, losing again. And that's basically all that mattered for him. If he didn't win that fight, it didn't really matter. So Maruyama, he's kind of got an asterisk next to his name. I think he'll stay fit. I think he'll just continue to train and hope for a miracle, because I don't think he's going to have many, if any, opportunities to get past Abe. They're probably going to decide pretty soon who the Olympic team is, and then those guys will essentially go into hiding until Paris. So Maruyama, one big asterisk next to his name. We're definitely only going to see him if something happens to Abe, and it might even be the end of Maruyama's career. We may never see him on the international scene again. He could just end up retiring. So sad days, but it's been good seeing Maruyama for sure. Right, next up is Murao. Great, but not perfect. He had some really nice throws, good Ippons, just kind of dominated the competition, but then he ended up facing Bekauri. Now, I'm pretty sure they're going to go with Murao. His performance against Bekauri was good. There was a couple of nice attacks that almost led to a score. There was one attack that led to a wazari, but then Bekauri, he surprised him with some interesting stemiwaza. So even though he lost that match, I think the coaches will be definitely happy with what they saw. There's definitely promise in this matchup. And Mashiyama beat Bekauri. I think it was by Shidos. He had a good fight against Bekauri, but Mashiyama, he's fallen off a cliff, couldn't make weight, and basically got removed from the national team. So I think they just have to go with Murao, and he's definitely got promise. Righto, next up, someone in a similar situation, Takuto. Takuto, he lost 2 matches at the World Championships, and I think the coaches would show him a little bit of sympathy in this match. There were a couple of calls that maybe should have been a Shido in Garrigos's name, and they'll definitely go to the drawing board with that technique that Garrigos uses, this one here. They'll figure it out. They'll work out a plan for how to deal with it. I think Takuto will probably change up his gripping a little bit. Won't take a higher grip so Garrigos can come under the elbow like that. But the thing with Takuto is his counterparts. I think there's Nagayama and Koga. They've just been losing recently. They haven't been putting in consistent wins. And Takuto, I mean, these were his first 2 losses since the Olympics, which on paper looks much better than his counterparts. I think they'll send out Nagayama soon. I think they'll give him some opportunities. And depending on his results, they may even give him some opportunities to face Takuto, whether it be a competition within Japan, and they may decide it that way, similar to how they did Maruyama and Abe. But Nagayama, he's under the pump a bit. There's not too much time. I think we'll see him very, very soon. So next up is Hashimoto. And Hashimoto, I mean, his performance at the World Championships was pretty damn good, I thought. He took out Shavdar early, really took it to him. So a lot of his other Japanese counterparts like Oyoshi has a loss to Shavdar, which doesn't look good when you kind of compare the two. Hashimoto now winning 2 out of 3 contests with Shavdar. There's also Koga Hayato, but I don't think he's competed enough on the international scene to really warrant possible selection for the Olympics. It's really Oyoshi Ken or Hashimoto. And Oyoshi, again, he's also lost to Stump. And Hashimoto, he lost to Stump too. And Stump, he became world champion, so it was just his day. Hashimoto definitely still there in the picture. They won't do what they do with Abe, the 2 Abes. I think they'll probably send him out maybe once or twice more. They'll also give Oyoshi Ken a few more opportunities. But for the most part, I think they'll probably end up going with Hashimoto. I think Oyoshi, similar to Nagayama, he's going to have to do a lot to make the Olympics. Next up is Nagasai. I mean, Nagasai, he ended up taking 3rd, but he lost to Lee. And this is his 2nd loss to Lee, which isn't really good. It might be a thorn in his side. But the way the draw works, I mean, they may never even meet in the Olympics. They could just bank on that, not meeting Lee. I'm sure they'll come up with some game plan, but I mean, Lee is a real sticking point for Nagasai at the moment. Although, when you look at the other 81s, for Japan, Fujiwara, I mean, he's lost a bunch. He lost to Malai, he lost to Cass. Nagasai's beaten those guys. And then there's also Sasaki. Sasaki, he's injured at the moment. And Sasaki, he's lost to Nagasai, he's lost to Jalo, for example. And he's just not as consistent as Nagasai. So I think they'll go with Nagasai. They'll just have to work out that Lee problem. They definitely will. There's a lot of people in Japan who can mimic that. And I think they'll just get a group of guys together to kind of mimic the Lee judo style. And Nagasai, he'll figure it out. At under 57, Funokubo, I mean, she got to the final. She got a silver medal. Lost, unfortunately, to Deguchi. But Deguchi is just an incredible competitor. So I'm not sure who else there is at under 57 for Japan, but I'm pretty sure they'll go with Funokubo and just kind of work on how to deal with Deguchi. So now we get into poor performances, or just people who are kind of a little bit unlucky. We'll start with the good before we get into the bad and the really terrible. So Koga Wakana, I mean, it's unfortunate she's in the same category as Tsunoda, but she still turned in a bronze medal. She does well on the international circuit. I just think she's a little bit young at the moment. Tsunoda, getting up there in age. So I think once Tsunoda retires, probably after Paris, we'll see Koga Wakana take over. So Horikawa, this next one, probably the worst performance. Goes out really early. I don't think many people would expect a Japanese judoka to lose to a Mexican judoka. Very surprising, big upset. So Horikawa, worst performance, but I mean, she's had such a consistent track record. Obviously, she's world champion. But then there's also Takaichi in the same weight class. They sent them both out. Both good track records. Both pretty consistent. And I think this was probably Takaichi's opportunity to get in front of Horikawa. She missed that opportunity. And with Horikawa being world champion from the previous year, they might go with her, but there'll probably be some domestic battles in Japan, a few more international competitions. And I'm pretty sure they'll probably leave that one last moment to decide. So before we talk about the absolute worst performance, we've got to talk about the 2 big guys, Saito and Kageura. Similar performances. Saito had his opportunity to fight Teddy Raniere. I think he did pretty well considering. Just a few things that he needs to clean up and work on. Kageura obviously has a win over Teddy Raniere, but I think that was a one-off. Getting an Uchimata Tsukashi like that, your opponent has to do an Uchimata. So I imagine Teddy Raniere probably would avoid that in their next contest. So I think the Japanese coaches, when they look at that Teddy Raniere matchup, they'd probably prefer Saito. But Saito didn't do himself any favors in this World Championships. He lost to Kageura. He was gassed. I think they would expect, no matter what kind of a golden score you have, you need to come out in your next contest and be fresh and ready to go. And he wasn't. So he lost that. But then Kageura, I mean, he got armbarred twice. He lost the bronze medal contest. And then on the flip side, place to redeem yourselves, the teams. Kageura probably doing a little bit better than Saito. Saito getting thrown for a massive Ippon by Tishishvili. So for the both of them, not the best tournament. And I would say Saito's rank has probably gone down a little bit, but maybe just a little bit ahead of Kageura at the moment. So worst performance coming up, but second to last is Hamada Shori. Just after the Tokyo Olympics, she looks old and slow, and she's been losing a lot recently, going out in her second round at the World Championships. And there's someone in Japan who is, what I think, a similar version of her, but much younger, much stronger, and much more talented, and that's Takayama. Takayama obviously has a win over her at the Tokyo Grand Slam, so I think they're going to send her out more and see what she can do. Right, worst performance, Ida Kentaro. He went out early at this World Championships, he went out early at the last World Championships. Sure, he beat Toroboyev, threw him with this really nice uranage, but after that he lost in the exact same way that he lost to Patrick Peter about a year ago. And unfortunately for Ida, there are a lot of guys in this category that deserve chances and are making a comeback again. So there's Aaron Wolf, there's Green, there's Ueoka. So I really do think for Ida, he just can't lose anymore from here on out. It's crunch time. So that's it, guys. What do you think of my list? What do you think of their performances? Let me know in the comments, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace.